Hello, amazing listeners. Welcome to another episode of the BOOB Business Podcast, the unscripted show where we unveil, demystify some of the confusing parts of birth, breastfeeding, and infant care during the first year of life while having a little fun. I'm your host, Naomi Catron, registered nurse and board certified lactation consultant. Our mission here is simple: to foster collaboration in maternal-child health and empower both families and businesses alike. We're all about creating a community where everyone feels supported and informed. In each episode, we dive deep into engaging discussions that span the entire spectrum of birth through the first year. From newborn feeding, because let's face it, it's something we all have got questions about, to tackling issues like tongue ties, the mysteries of pacifiers, mental health, bodywork, and just so much more. So whether you're a new parent navigating the incredible journey of early parenthood or a seasoned professional in the birth business, this podcast is your go-to source for laughter, knowledge, and some great insights. So we're here to make learning about boob business not just informative, but enjoyable. So join us for conversations that not only spark your curiosity, but also bring a smile to your face. So remember, every episode is a chance to connect, learn, and share. So hit the subscribe button and let's embark on this exciting journey together. Hey. Today we're going to be talking about bottles and nipple flows and maybe the term nipple confusion and what might be a better term for it. So it'll be a lot of cool stuff today. I'm not used to recording video, so forgive me if I'm really awkward today. It is strange to see my face while I'm talking to you guys. If you're listening to this on audio only, this might be something worth kind of getting on our YouTube page, on our Milk Diva YouTube page, so you can actually see the bottle nipples that I'm talking about and the flows. It's a little bit more of a visual episode. That's why I wanted to hop on video. So here are a couple of the questions we're going to address today, or I'm going to address today with you with real live bottles. And I wish someone was here to remind me to cover all these points, but this is unscripted. So here we go. So it's going to be, do I need to move up nipple sizes as my baby gets older? Like 1 month, do a size 1, and 2 months, do a size 2, or something like that. So that'll be one question we answer. The next question will be, well, which bottle nipple is the best for my baby if I want to breastfeed? So if I want to do both breastfeeding and bottle feeding, like surely I should probably get a bottle that looks like a boob, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what flow you should start your baby on. And I really want to address the common thing I hear a lot is like, oh, I put my baby on a preemie nipple or an ultra preemie nipple, and my baby is 3 months old, and that's what I've been told to help my baby be able to do breast and bottle. And then I do want to talk about nipple confusion, and then the opposite would be bottle refusal. And so hopefully I can organize my thoughts. The first thing I want to make sure that we talk about is bottle refusal and nipple confusion. I say this, I have a YouTube video that I talk about this. Actually, I have a book that's coming out, so you should probably go to Amazon or put it on your little to-do list. I'm sure it'll be out. The whole goal is to have it out for Christmas, 2024? Yeah, 2024. So you can give it to all your pregnant friends or whatever. But one of the things I talk about in that book is that there really is no such thing as nipple confusion. Your baby is not actually confused. They're super smart, and they want the path of least resistance. So I have some bottle nipples here. This one right here is the actual bottle nipple that you get in the hospital when they ask you to supplement your baby. It's in the packaging. It says, if you can see here, it says flow, nipple, and ring, and it's latex free. So I just want to show you what I mean about babies they're not nipple confused. They have a flow preference. I'm opening up this package. Let's see if I don't get water on everything today. This will be interesting. Electronics and water. Can you guys see this? Yeah, I'm going to put some water in here, and I want you to see how fast this flows. Or not fast. Let's see. It might be tricking me today. Well, this is straight from the packaging. Oh, it's not going to do it for me today. Well, this didn't go as planned. I wonder if this is opened up because it's a brand new nipple. This is actually a very fast flowing nipple. I'm really tempted to get on screen and suck this, but that looks inappropriate. Let's try this with a couple other bottle nipples. Let's try it with this one and see what happens. Oh, I see. None of these are flowing today because I need to add a bottle to them. Here we go. That's easy to do. I wish I can pause this. Let's see. No, I don't think there's a pause button. So, add water to the actual bottle. Screwing on the bottle nipple. And here we go. You see that flow? That's the speed of this flow of this bottle. Okay, so the trick to this is you need an actual bottle. So hold on one second. This is the standard slow flow nipple that you get in the hospital. And so the other one I showed you, this has standard flow. So this is going to be a blue bottle. So I'm going to show you the flow on this blue bottle. Yeah, let's see. That's very, 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 very fast. I don't know. Let's see. Super, super, super fast. That's just not what we want in your initial bottle. So the cool part, though, is if you ask for it, your hospital might give you this yellow top one, which is this one. I'll show you the label again. Slow flow. And then this one comes out slower. A lot slower. These are all like number ones, though, just so you know. And there's even another one, like ultra slow flow. So this is the point of all of this. Your baby is not stupid, or your baby is not nipple confused. They're just really, really smart. They're not stupid. Here's another bottle. This is really slow flow. Let's see if I can help make any of it come out. Here we go. Do you see? And I'm holding it straight up. These are all size number ones. But I love the shape of this bottle nipple. And we're going to talk about how to select the right bottle nipple for your breastfeeding baby. Here's another. These are all number ones. Look at the flow difference on this bottle. And this is a number one. I don't know if you can see the number. Oh, it's kind of fuzzy. Here you go. Number one. Do you see that number one right there on the bottle nipple? So remember, this is the size number one. This is also a size number one. Look at this drop. It's like drop, drop, drop. And this is on one bottle type. And then this other one that's very popular. Drop, 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 drop. That's the size. These are all number ones, okay? Let's see. This is another number one. Drop, 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 drop. That's a number one. This is a bottle that is not recommended. Like the shape of this bottle is not recommended. If you have a tongue-tied baby, though, this will probably be the bottle that they feed best on. But if your baby has optimal oral function, this is not the bottle you want to help your baby learn how to breastfeed on, because it's flattening. It's a flat bottle nipple, so it teaches your baby to just bring their tongue up and down, up and down, up and down, as opposed to cupping the nipple with their tongue and making a wave-like motion, a peristaltic motion to move the milk in from the breast with vacuum. So this is not the ideal bottle type. This is just going to cause your baby to smash your breast and make it flat, just like this bottle nipple is. So let's see what the speed is on this one. This is a little slower. This is a number one also. So when they okay, so I just want you to see this. This bottle nipple is not made for like the peristaltic flow. So when they actually use their tongue and they smash it against the roof of their mouth, watch, when I smash it, look how it squirts out milk. Like it's an actual stream of milk that comes out. So in the case of this flatter bottle nipple, that is going to give your baby a really fast return on their investment. They smash their nipple up to the roof of their mouth and it's going to squirt out, as you saw in that last little video clip. But my whole purpose in showing you all of these different bottle nipples is so that you can see that these are all, watch, these are all level 1 nipples. Drop, 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 drop. All level 1 nipples that are coming out at different speeds. Drop, 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 drop. This is pretty fast. Let's see. This other one. Get this one going. Drop, 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 drop. Okay, so that's another example. And then this one. This one is a slower, like this is one of my favorite. Okay, so this one is not doing drips by itself at all, actually. So anyway, those are all the different bottles that I have here right now to show you. I've not gone into any of the more highly marketed ones, which I want to talk about in a second. But my first point is just that it's important to work with a professional whose only job is to help babies feed when selecting these bottles, and to not go on the marketing that's on the box. Like the marketing is unregulated, and so are these number shaped nipples, like 1, 2, 3, 4, preemie, ultra preemie. All these things are very subjective, and as you saw, all these number 1s are totally different. Drip, some of them drip really fast, some of them don't. So I'm going to talk to you about how to manage the flow of a bottle properly, regardless of what bottle you have, in a minute. But the first thing you should know is that your baby is not having nipple confusion. Your baby is having a flow preference, because many times they're introduced to a bottle and they're immediately able to pull milk out really quickly because of the flow of the bottle nipple and because of positioning that the parent is using in their bottle feeding method. So I'm going to talk with you about how to prevent some of that. Are you passionate about helping new mothers and their babies by becoming a lactation consultant? Well, UC San Diego's Extended Studies program has the perfect lactation program for you. Whether you need clinical hours or already work with breastfeeding dyads, their pathways to becoming an IBCLC can help you achieve your goal. Plus, you can now complete clinical hours using simulation through September 2025. This is perfect for those with busy schedules, living in rural communities, or international families. Are you looking maybe to consider becoming a lactation educator instead? Well, check out the Foundations of Lactation Education course and their new 95-hour lactation education counseling certificate, and that starts in fall of 2024. Are you already a pro? Well, stay updated with their refresher courses and CERPs. So check out UC San Diego Extended Studies, where they're empowering lactation professionals everywhere. I'm going to demonstrate how we should be offering a bottle, and I'm going to address the question of, hey, don't bottle-fed babies get more gassy than breastfed babies? And so the way I'm going to answer that first, and then I'm going to demonstrate how to prevent some air going into your baby. Babies who drink from fast-flowing vessels usually tend to be a bit more gassy. So what I mean by that is if you have a fast flow breast who has a fast letdown or has a fast flow, your baby will oftentimes sound like this at the breast. Gulp, 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 gulp. And so those sounds are sounds of a stress feeding and swallowing air. Those same sounds can happen at the bottle. So babies who drink too fast are the ones who get gas. It could be breast or bottle. So you would need to work with a lactation consultant to figure out ways how to prevent that from happening at the breast. But when you're bottle feeding, I'm going to give you like 75% of my bottle feeding tips. The other 25% could be found like in a consultation with our practice, or perhaps by getting my new book that'll be coming out here, like I said, at the ending of the year. It's called the Breastfeeding Blueprint. So check that out when it comes out. I'll put out an email out. So I'm going to have a demonstration of a little baby here and a bottle. And I'm going to show you how not to do this. Let's see if this mic will cooperate. So what I don't want is for your baby like this, laying a little bit more flat. And I don't want you feeding your baby completely upright, because you are increasing the flow this way. But instead, so what I have, you're listening just online, is a baby basically in my arms almost laying flat, and the bottle, basically the nipple is pointing to the back of their throat. And so they really don't have a way to tell us, hey, this is coming too fast, or this is too much, or I'm done in this fashion. But instead, have your baby more upright, sitting upright, so that like their nose is actually, nose is kind of more pointing to the wall, opposite of them, as opposed to the ceiling. So we don't want ceiling nose. We want the nose to be pointing to the wall, and we want to ask, hey, can I come in there? And you're kind of pointing to their nose and the upper lip area, waiting for them to open. And then you're going to introduce a bottle nipple. And I want the bottle nipple to stay, I don't know if this camera will make it unfuzzy, but we want the bottle nipple to stay even, or we want the bottle nipple to be even with the floor. So I don't want it to be nipple down towards the back of the baby's throat. I want, if anything, we're kind of aiming for the palate of your baby. They'll suck, and then the bottle nipple is filled or halfway filled. I think it's hard to keep it halfway filled, but having it filled is fine as long as you are in control of the swallowing sound. So this is where you actually manage the flow of the bottle and the drinking. So you introduce the bottle, you hear your baby sucking. Now, if we're hearing suck, swallow, so k, it's like a k sound. So swallow, breathe, suck, swallow, breathe, suck, breathe. We're fine. We're in a good place, right? It should take us about 5 minutes to do an ounce. Basically, if you're doing a 3-ounce bottle or a 4-ounce bottle, it should be about 15 minutes. If, however, we are hearing gulp, 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 we're feeding way too fast. Like if we're like, or even if you're like this and you're hearing these sounds, even if the bottle's perpendicular, your baby's sitting straight up and you're hearing a lot of gulping, we need to get a feeding person in there. We need to get a lactation consultant or speech therapist, someone who works on infant feeding, to figure out why your baby is having a hard time with the flow. Because really, even if you're feeding a size 3 nipple, and if you are controlling the flow with the baby's position, right, and the angle, your baby should be able to have a pleasant, unstressed feed without all of these crazy gulping sounds. And I tell families, this is very, very, very important, because we do not want your baby starting to correlate stress with feeding at the breast or the bottle. We don't want them to have eyes wide open, pushing away, arching, gulping, high-pitched sounds. That's a stressful feed for them at that moment, and it will be stressful for you later when they're full of gas. So far we've touched on bottle flows, how the number ones are not equal across the board. So you really need to talk with someone in your prenatal consultation about best bottles, because you do need to be prepared just in case you do need to supplement in that first week of life. Many times for your first baby, that might be a reality. So you need to know, okay, well, which is a good bottle for a baby to go back and forth from breast to bottle, and then techniques, how to properly bottle feed in a manner that complements breastfeeding. So that's something we do all day long. We have never had one of our babies who the parent bottle feeds, right, and not come back to the breast. Like, all of our babies do breast and bottle, as long as we're able to teach the parent how to do it properly within the first 2 weeks of life. And then we start working with them on breastfeeding goals within the first 2 weeks of life. If you come to us and they're 4 to 6 weeks old and you've only been bottle feeding, it's not impossible. It's just a lot more difficult to do. But all those words just to say, I've never had a baby refuse a breast because they had to be introduced to a bottle in the first few days of life for whatever reason. We always get them back to the breast exclusively if that's the parent's goal, as long as they're teaching them how to use or how to feed from a bottle and the way that we teach. So today I kind of taught you about 75% of what we teach. There's another 25% that I'm not going to just completely give away on this podcast today. So flow is an important thing. I also really want to talk to you about the shape of the bottle nipple. So if you notice, none of the bottles that I have shown you today that I have on the screen right now, like none of these have a bottle nipple that looks like a half a dome boob, like an overinflated breast implant, like a half, like a boob with a nipple pointing out of it. Those bottles that's purely marketing. I do not recommend that you get bottles that are shaped like a boob. That is not really how anatomy works. That is just not how the breast works. The way the breast works is that it's really soft and squishy and pliable. So what that means is when your baby puts their mouth on your breast, the breast will fit into their palate, into their mouth, and change shape to fit their mouth. It's like a custom fit orthotic or custom fit bottle nipple, right? And so when it does that, it has a gentle slope, and your breast tissue will actually end up looking more like this bottle nipple. There's a hair on it. So all of that to say, a boob-shaped bottle nipple with a nipple pointing out of it, all it really does is encourage your baby to latch to the nipple, because it's not that bottle with the boob, the half dome kind of boob looking thing that might screw onto a fatter actual bottle vessel. Like the nipple might be a half dome bottle nipple. It might look like this, like halfway, and then underneath it has a bottle, like a screw-on bottle vessel to put milk in. Your baby is just going to end up latching to that longer nipple that's pointing out of the top and not get any of the areola in its mouth. And so on a bottle that's shaped more with a gentle slope like this, we call this, I'll show you what we're looking for. This portion right here, the top half inch or so, is the nipple. And then these are called shoulders, or almost like a pseudo areola. And this is where we want your baby. It's going to start here, but after 1 or 2 sucks, all of this will go in their mouth, and that you'll see your baby with a much wider gape. Like their mouth will be in a more open position as opposed to latching just to the nipple, which has your baby having a small mouth position and a smaller gape, which causes pinching and difficulty with breastfeeding. So I'm going to try to include a picture of what it looks like to latch onto one of these like not recommended bottles, and then the same baby latching onto a bottle that we recommend. I'll do a side-by-side picture in the blog that'll be attached in the show note links or in the YouTube link here. So you'll be able to see a picture of what the difference is. But we want your baby to start learning early on to open their mouth wide when they're on the breast and to consume the areola, not just a nipple. And that's why I counsel against using those boob-shaped bottle nipples. No matter what the marketing says, please trust me. So yeah, your baby is smart. They're going to want to go to the fast flow or the area of least resistance. So the flow is going to be really important. And unfortunately, you can't trust what the bottle companies say when it comes to flow. Many times the flow is going to have to be dependent on your own experience. So you can buy one bottle of several different brands and test it the way I just showed you. Or you can work with a lactation consultant during your prenatal visit. And then you can use a bottle shape that's going to be conducive to breastfeeding. And then you can implore some of these bottle feeding techniques to manage the flow that your baby is getting, and that's going to require you to pay attention to the suck swallow pattern. So those two, what I've covered so far, the first 2 really important parts to bottle feeding is flow and the kind of bottle shape that you should be considering to use if you're planning to do breast and bottle. There's so much to talk about when it comes to bottle feeding, but those are 2 really common questions that I get and misunderstandings. Now, I do want to talk about the next thing. People they make inferences that aren't necessarily always helpful. So people assume that the slower flow nipple, the better for the baby, so that they will go back to the breast. That is not always true. Especially if your baby's older than 6 or 8 weeks old. I don't recommend using an ultra preemie or a preemie nipple unless you're working with a feeding therapist and that's recommended for some reason, like they have another condition like laryngomalacia or some issues with aspiration or other things your doctor may have told you. using a ultra preemie nipple, what it does, and I want you to think about this. Bottle nipples can be very similar to straws in the sucking strength that you use. And we're really trying to help our babies not learn how to suck like a straw. The movement for the mouth for breastfeeding is completely different than sucking from a straw. But bottle feeding, unfortunately, is kind of a little bit more like sucking from a straw. The wider they get their mouth, the less it's like sucking on a straw and more like breastfeeding. So think of a boba straw, the kind of straw that you can suck up a tapioca pearl, a regular straw that you get at McDonald's, and then a straw that you use like a coffee stirrer straw. So an ultra preemie nipple is going to be like a coffee stirrer straw. I want you to try to just think about drinking milk or your coffee or anything out of an ultra preemie straw. What you need to do is use a lot of your lip muscles. Do you see the little dimples right here? We don't want to see that on your baby. So these, I'm pointing to where I guess people would have laugh lines. You'll see a dimple on both sides of like above the lips, to the right and the left side when you're sucking on a straw. If you do it in the mirror right now, you'll see it. And you can see it when I'm doing it. We don't want to see that on a breastfeeding baby. That means they are using their lips only to suck. We don't want that. We want them to use their whole mouth, their whole tongue. They need to actually like lift this tongue and use their whole mouth to bottle feed or breastfeed. But when we give them an ultra preemie nipple, we're just teaching them to use their lips, and they usually end up having lots of suck blisters and really, really strong lip muscles, which can cause lots of pinching at the breasts. So no matter how many lactation consultations you've done and chiropractic visits and therapy and all the things, you're 2 and 3 months into breastfeeding, you're like, why does my latch still pinch so much, even though I've done all the things and my baby doesn't have a tongue or a lip tie? Well, it's because your baby's been drinking from this ultra preemie nipple all this time and has learned to just use these smaller, less strong, so they go in for short bursts of killer strong clenches with the front part of their mouth, which is not comfortable for anyone, and your baby ends up getting really tired and doesn't actually transfer a full feed anyway. So you'll see those babies who are on those ultra preemie bottles being 3 months old, eight weeks old, and they're like, wow, it takes her 30 minutes to drink 3 ounces or 2.5 ounces. She doesn't always even drink it. And I'm like, well, yeah, because it's like, how much would you drink if I gave you a coffee stirrer for a straw? Like, you're just going to be so tired at a certain point. So let's be careful with those ultra preemie straws, and let's implore more technique and care in how we offer a baby a bottle, as opposed to kind of like watching TV or being on your phone. Or sometimes we're cooking or taking care of other kids. Like you have a lot of things going on, but just understand these first 6 to 8 weeks, if you're bottle feeding, are very, very nuanced and really need your full attention. After that, they become a little bit more like set on cruise control. So let's see, what are the other things I said I was going to cover today? Bottle feeding, flow, why maybe ultra preemie nipple is not the best choice for your baby, gas, air, making sure you're not buying expensive bottles that are marketed to be just like breasts. That's really not helpful or true. The most important thing, though, is to understand that many times, especially if it's your first baby and you're older than 30 something years old, there's a high, many chances there might be a need for supplementation in the first week of life. And that's okay. It does not mean your baby cannot breastfeed. It would be amazing if you can supplement your baby with your own breast milk or donor breast milk first. But bottles can interfere with breastfeeding, especially if not done appropriately, or proper bottle shape or proper bottle feeding technique. And so working with a lactation consultant prenatally to help teach you how to do that. But also, if you are bottle feeding for some reason in the first week of life, you absolutely need a lactation consultant to help you get away from that bottle and get back onto the breast. And the same thing with nipple shields. Don't try to wing it, and don't try to just hope it's going to come together. The longer you wait, the more dependent your baby will become on those items like a bottle and a nipple shield, and the more difficult and the more work it takes to get them off. Because man, when they get something that they like, these babies are trying to survive, and they're not going to be as willing and open to a change that might seem more difficult when in their mind, this is a survival thing, they can very well be resistant. And a lot of it is just based on their temperament. Okay, so in summary, I promised I was going to talk about nipple sizes as your baby gets older. I was going to talk about like which bottle is best when you're trying to breastfeed a baby, the flow, which is the best flow to start with, if you should be using preemie or ultra preemie nipples, and then bottle refusal. So let me just make sure I cover all these things. I've talked about nipple sizes and how they are not to be trusted, but some other alternatives for how to ensure that your baby is getting the right flow. A lot of that involves positioning and listening to the feeding. But understand this, when you're breastfeeding, your nipple doesn't change sizes. So our goal at our practice is always to match a bottle with the mom's flow, more or less. And your flow is not going to change when your baby's 2 months old versus 6 months old versus 4 months old. So the need for increasing is not necessary. And unless you're working with a feeding therapist that has told you differently, like if your baby is having choking and feeding and aspiration problems, you're probably going to need to size down, even if you have a fast flow. But generally speaking, we're wanting your baby to have a comfortable, stress-free flow, and we're not changing the bottle nipples. It's just not necessary. Your nipple doesn't change sizes. Preemie nipples, ultra preemie nipples, I just talked about that. That can really cause some improper adaptations, and that's not going to be helpful for making your breastfeeding journey more comfortable. I do want to touch on bottle refusal because I didn't really quite get there, but I did say a million times already, your baby is smart. They don't have a bottle, they don't have a nipple confusion. It's not really a thing. It's really more about flow preference. And so what I want you to understand clearly is that babies can do both bottle feed and breastfeed. However, if you ever plan on having your baby have a bottle, let's say you're going back to work at 3 or 4 months of life, or you have your sister's wedding coming up and your baby's going to be 6 months old by that time when you're going away for a week. And you're like, I don't really need to have any bottles involved until 6 months of life. Well, I just want to warn you that when your baby develops a really good breastfeeding relationship, this is their favorite thing. So now you're going to introduce some foreign looking bottle nipple to them and it feels rubbery and totally different. More often than not, they may not be open to using a bottle if the first time they were exposed to it is at 3 months of life. And that's when you start in the world of bottle refusal. And it's not a good idea to force feed your baby or wait for them to be starving or not abandon them, but leave them with someone else to do it and hope it works out, or send them to daycare at 4 to 6 months old, even though they've never taken a bottle, and letting the daycare people figure it out. I'm not saying those things won't work. I'm just saying that's probably not the best, less stress option you have. But instead, introducing a bottle with a professional to make sure that your baby doesn't develop a bottle preference within the first 6 weeks of life, and then maintaining a positive bottle relationship throughout their feeding life. So what I mean to say is, you can't just say, oh, my baby took a bottle at 2 weeks old, perfectly fine. I didn't give him a bottle again from, let's say, 3 weeks of life all the way to 5 months of life, and now I'm going to reintroduce it, and you expect your baby to take a bottle. That's probably not going to happen. But instead, what we recommend is going to be, you develop a good relationship with bottle and breast and have both established, and then give your baby a snack out of a bottle once a day, once every other day, maybe 2 ounces, so that they can have a positive relationship with that bottle throughout their feeding journey, so you can have the flexibility to leave your baby with someone else and know that they'll be able to eat from a bottle and they have that established relationship. Your baby's not going to develop a bottle preference if they're having a 2-ounce snack from a bottle 1 time a day and they're breastfeeding 7 times a day, 7 days a week. It's just not going to happen that way. So that is my 2 cents to help prevent you from having a bottle refusal baby. Bottle refusal babies don't generally just one day wake up and take a bottle. It takes a month or so, if you're lucky, to get them to accept a bottle. And that takes special training to teach a baby how to do that. And we do have a consultant here, a couple consultants who are really good at that. But, those are for babies really between 4 and 6 months of life, 4 and 5 months of life. If your baby's older than that and refusing a bottle, it might be time to maybe consider maybe cups and solid foods and things like that. Getting them to a bottle might be a lot more difficult. So if you don't want to be that person who's had to cancel their European vacation because their baby won't take a bottle and you're afraid she won't eat while you're gone, let's be sure to have a positive relationship with a bottle early on in your feeding career and work with a professional so that your baby can do both, and work with someone who has a lot of experience in doing this. Not all lactation consultants do breast and bottle, do both of them. So that is something really important when it comes to bottle refusal. I find that bottle refusal is more common than a baby developing a bottle preference. And of course, families who do it the way we teach and we start working with them prenatally and work with them for, get in there with them the first 2 weeks of life, we don't have this problem with them at all. But people who do it on their own and try to get advice from, the internet, which has a lot of really great advice, but has a lot of really not great advice, or advice that's not suited to you and your baby, sometimes they will develop one or the other, a bottle preference or a breast preference. And breast preference is like a nice way of saying bottle refusal. They just want the breast only. They do not want the bottle. And that is fine if you never intend on leaving your baby for the first year of life. No weddings, no work, nothing like that. And, no late night drinking situations. But if you ever plan on being separated from your baby and that you're going to need to eat from another vessel besides your breast, this is something for you to consider. So that is my 2 cents. That's some of the things I wanted to share with you about bottles. I hope this was helpful. I am going to make a blog on it with some visuals and some links there and some videos on how to feed, how not to feed, but also just keep your eyes open for the book that's coming out later on this year called A Breastfeeding Blueprint. I'm really excited about it, and it will be a great gift to give any of your pregnant friends because it really is all about preparing to breastfeed in the prenatal period and in the first few weeks of life, all the things that can go on and kind of make feeding a little more difficult. So really trying to get ahead of the curve and people to be prepared for any of the little nuances or all the little curveballs that may come up. And I want the reader to feel equipped to manage any of the things that might come up. C-section, preeclampsia, a baby who goes to the NICU unit, a baby who's born a little bit early, bottles, formula, all the things that'll be included in the book. So thanks so much for listening and dealing with me on my first video podcast. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope the visual was helpful, and I hope those of you who heard it just on audio will check out the link in the show notes to see the YouTube version of this. Bye. Thanks for listening. To learn more about newborn feeding and get your free swipe file, visit milkdiva.com/newborn feeding. And if you've ever said, wow, I wish I would have known that while you're listening to this podcast, then help a friend out and share this podcast with them. You can also help us by leaving us a rating so more people can benefit from finding this podcast. Medical disclaimer. Please know that all opinions expressed on this podcast are solely my own and not intended to substitute the advice of a medical provider. I am not a medical doctor, and all information shared is intended for your general knowledge and is geared towards full-term, healthy singleton infants and healthy low-risk pregnant or postpartum women.